What's going on, everybody? Simple back at it like I'm checking my height. Today we're checking out 11 Cities Tour from 1985. I guess we're going to be traveling around 11 different cities from the Netherlands. This is produced by Radio Netherlands Worldwide. So this will be kind of cool anyway, just to see kind of what it was back then. And then we'll have to check out some videos of what it is more so now. I mean, not that we currently haven't been, but we'll definitely be digging into more. If you guys want to get your requests up here as well, make sure you check out the Google form down in the description below. And definitely make sure you hit up the Creator Consortium. Excuse me. And as always, if you enjoy this, make sure you support the content creator. Let's go.
Winter in the Netherlands. Dismal, bleak, little snow, less ice.
Welcome to New Hampshire. We have very similar winters. Dismal, bleak, and a lot of ice.
And not as cold as in the old days. A disappointment to the Dutch.
I mean, our lowest
We're a
average,
winter
like
people,
-9
we Dutch.
Fahrenheit.
Nothing we like better than snow and ice, and the
That's
things we can
cool.
do on it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Especially skating. It's the favorite sport here, not just
Okay.
racing either. The favorite event, in fact, is a skating tour through the northern province of Friesland, along a cross-country course touching 11 of its ancient cities. The
What?
11 cities.
How long does that take? That's a cross-country skating course. I can only imagine the amount of stamina it takes to ice skate. I mean, it takes a lot to rollerblade, but ice skating, like, oh my gosh. That's crazy. That is so cool, though. So this is the 11 cities? Okay.
If it's Dutch, it's
Okay.
organized, and that includes the 11 cities tour. An all-day event involving 16,000 skaters, it needs an organization. It needs a lot of ice, too, and this year the organizers say there isn't enough, at least not yet, and there's too much snow.
Het ijs is de afgelopen dagen goed aangedoen. De kwaliteit
Oh, there is. Are they in English?
They're optimistic,
They
though,
are.
and ready to give nature a helping hand.
sneeuwijs.
I guess they're.
Maar met de hulp van veel vrijwilligers is de kwaliteit toch aanzienlijk verbeterd.
Volunteers, part of an army of volunteers tidying up the ice along the canals and lakes of the 200-kilometer course. A big job, a lot of energetic effort. Why? Well, it's the winter of 1985, and there hasn't been an 11 cities tour, an Elfstedentocht, as we Dutch would call it, since 1963. Little snow, less ice. Will there be
Serious
one
thing
this
out
year?
there.
The news conference where the organizers will announce their decision, and more journalists on hand than for the coronation of the Dutch Queen. The answer? Bad news.
Stelling voor de komende dagen zullen leiden tot een situatie waarin het niet verantwoord is
Not only is the ice unsafe, but a thaw is forecast.
toch te houden.
An old story as far as the 11 Cities Tour is concerned. Since its organization in 1908, in fact, it's been cancelled more times, 14, than it's been run, 12. A record of some kind, no doubt. Winter.
So it's an extremely special event anyway, just because half the time you can't even do it. So you have to wait. And of course, there's probably stretches of a couple years in a row with climate change and things like that, or just, different weather comes in, It's very interesting.
In the Netherlands. Not as cold as in the old days. A disappointment to the Dutch. And then, finally, ice. It's 3 weeks later. Cold that has crippled half of Europe has frozen Friesland solid. Solid enough for an 11 cities tour? The thickness of 15 centimeters, which, for safety reasons, the organizers insist on?
I mean, nobody's sunk yet.
16 centimeters, he says. When does it start? How do I sign on? 11 cities fever is setting in. They won't cancel again, will they?
En de tijd wordt nog nader bekendgemaakt. Dan moet u zijn bij de Frieslandhal in Leeuwarden. Bij diverse verenigingen. Maar ik ga u de raad geven, aanzien dat de dagbladen die vroegen mensen zich aan.
De voorzitter van het
The answer, when it comes, is the lead story on the National Evening News. A historic moment, says the anchorman.
bestuur een historische beslissing heeft genomen.
Uitgaande van 4 nachten strenge vorst die we nodig hadden.
The 11 cities tour, the first in 22 years, is set for Thursday, February 21st.
I mean, that's such a
Just
huge
2 days away.
It blows my mind that an ice skating event like that, it's so cherished, I guess. Is it still to this day? Do they still do the 11 cities? That would be so cool to do. Oh my gosh, I wonder how...
The fever
Only
becomes an
imagine how
epidemic.
long that takes,
It's
how-
time for
how hard it
participants to
actually
sign
is.
in, even if it means a night in a sleeping bag outside registration rooms. Only 16,000 skaters can take part. Whether men, women, boys or girls, it's first come, first served.
Don't fall asleep.
Flashlights? Good idea. It starts in the dark, the 11 cities tour, and the course isn't lit. Here's a would-be participant who forgot his skates. Hey, can you rent skates around here?
Fahnen, sjaals, stickers. Wie naar Fahnen, sjaals, stickers.
De eerste keer, toen ging het...
The event's a little more organized. Even the Dutch Air Force has a hand in things.
Maar toen vlogen we 5 meter hoog.
Ja.
Skaters and fans pour into Leeuwarden, capital.
Now, the Air Force must have a hand in things to make sure people stay safe through the journey. I mean, there's so many people out there. I'm sure if anyone was last, they'd probably have someone with them at least, I'd hope.
Skaters and fans pour into Leeuwarden, capital of Friesland province, home base for the 11 cities tour. Organizational machinery is grinding everywhere. The tour may start in Leeuwarden, but it covers a lot of ground before 200 kilometers later it ends in the same place.
Wow. Okay. That's 200 kilometers. What the hell? It's too... Why does it need to be 200? That's insanity. Like, hold on a second. I'm sorry. You guys are gonna have to bear with me. Because I need to know this. It's 124.25 miles. 124 miles. I need to do this. How do you get home if you give up? Like, I'm sure you can just get back, but... Like, look, you're out in the middle of nowhere.
This is the finish line in an event which for some participants is a race, 277 to be precise. About 1 million spectators are expected, and one task for police is crowd and traffic control. Ambulances will line the route, and first aid posts, one every 16 kilometers.
So I mean, there's a lot of people that take. I mean,
The
obviously,
long-awaited
it's not
spectacle
just
will be covered live all day
with
long on Dutch
people, but,
television,
like,
starting at 5 a.m. The 11 cities race and tour,
how many children make 124 miles?
a sort of Dutch
how-
Kentucky Derby with the Super Bowl thrown in. Some call it the greatest, the toughest steeplechase in history.
Yeah, you could say that. 124 miles skating. Pray to Jesus, there's no hills.
It's killed 3 contenders in the past, mutilated hundreds more through frostbite, packed hospital wards with cases of broken arms,
And there's kids doing this.
legs, hips, ankles, heads, wrists. Yet Dutch skaters still clamor by the thousands to take part.
I want to do this so bad.
Hier is de leiding.
I need to bring at least 2 friends. That way, in case one dies on it,
informatie in.
we can just drag them together.
Racers, 277 men like this, have trained all year round for years for an event that hardly ever happens.
Oh yeah, because there's, what did he say, 200 and something people that are racing,
Het
right?
mooiste nummer wat je even kan weten, hè? 2 keer 1.
Wij dan ook goed
But
beveiligd
there's
zijn van de
16,000 that can
Maar
participate.
het lopen heb je natuurlijk nog.
Je moet naar zoveel lopen, dus dan kunnen we beter heel Friesland doorlopen.
That's crazy.
The big day. Long before dawn, most of Europe still huddled under blankets, asleep. Friesland Hall in Leeuwarden, where the 11 towns race and tour begins. The races start before the tourers.
Het eerste stuk hier? Ja, het loopt eruit. Nee, ik geloof niet dat... Als het voor de topmensen is, moeilijk. Ja.
For the racers, assembled behind fencing, the starting shot will sound at 5:30 a.m. and they'll be off on a mile-long run before they reach the ice.
So you run and then put your skates on. That's actually a really fair way to start. How fast can you tie your skates?
Winter in the Netherlands.
tie 'em tight, 'cause
Not
you're
as
only gonna
cold
get
as in
one
the old
chance,
days,
probably.
but dismal, bleak, not for them. And not for the tourers either. For them, it's not winning, but just completing the punishing 200-kilometer course. Each who does gets a little silver cross, an Elfstedenkruisje, a sort of Dutch red badge of courage, something to tell the grandchildren about. They're released in groups of 1,000 every 15 minutes.
It's almost like hounds chasing rabbits.
Sneek, the first of the 11 cities, 22 kilometers from the start. The front runners arrive, get their cards stamped at the checking station. No stamp, no victory.
So it's like constant pitting. Like you constantly have to stop.
A short dash across a dike or street, and there's the ice again.
Oh, that kind of sucks. So there's some brick on the edge of that. Catch a chip skate.
And the darkness.
Yeah, in the darkness.
It's about 8 a.m., daybreak, 2.5 hours into the all-day event. And some tourers are still starting. Not all can leave at once, or the ice would give way. The tourers who left earlier and the racers are now strung out 84 kilometers along the course to Hindelopen, the fourth of the 11 cities. The first the racers can see if they take the time to look.
Oh, man. 124 miles of bending like that. My neck would be done. I actually could probably never accomplish this. My back would give out. That would be so cool, though. Just ice skating through a bunch of different ancient cities. Like,
It's an hour later before the first tourers reach the town. A once thriving port on the former Zuiderzee, now landlocked, Hindelopen is over 700 years old.
oh, there's the thumbnail.
No point in packing your own lunch for this trip. Drink will freeze solid, sandwiches turn to rock. And resting too long can be crippling. The racers again, nearly 100 kilometers into the event. As the pace quickens, speeds up to 40 and 50 kilometers per hour,
See ya.
it's tempo that gets you there, looking for an opening and taking it. Some of the early front runners are no longer in front.
Those guys are like straight up in pace. There was a point when they were almost touching each other's skates. Oh, the run, man. That's what would kill me right there. Like, that would be one of the hardest things is stopping because you're stuck in pace, right? And now all of a sudden you have to stop and you have to change your muscle movement for just that split couple seconds. And that's enough to, oh man, that's enough to make you cramp for sure. There was one guy I saw that ran across the bridge. He was holding his leg.
The raised drawbridge means a road out of service, but who cares on the day of the 11 cities race and tour? Which is now approaching Bolsward, the seventh of the cities. The skaters have to leave the ice, by the way, at the many points where it's weak. The mats and rugs help keep those skate blades sharp. The tours, some of the 16,000, follow along a pace, albeit a slower pace. Again, the race. It's 9:40 a.m., approaching the North Sea port of Harlingen now, city number 8. The two frontrunners look a little lost, and that's one of the hazards in this event. In the 11 Cities race in 1940, the 20 top contenders skated off in the dark to the wrong town. The right way this time is up and over Harlingen's main street.
Huh. Oh, man. Just grab a sandwich and go.
Whoops. The racers skate in packs, cooperatively changing place at the front where the pace is set. It's keep up or drop out. Approaching the finish, of course, it's every racer for himself. The winner today will soon emerge from this group of a dozen front runners. They're already well ahead of the record for the 200-kilometer run. Set in 1954, it was 7 hours, 35 minutes.
So what's the average speed? I don't think I caught that if he said it. What's the average speed that you're skating this whole time? 7 hours, 124 miles. I suck at math, so there's that.
Schools close the day an 11 Cities race and tour is held. Ice-free, the kids call it. Free, too, for the thousands of spectators on hand in this tiny hamlet, home ordinarily for no more than a few dozen people. The stretch of ice they call the cemetery, the gateway to Dokkum, the northernmost and 10th of the 11 cities. It's where many would-be winners have called it quits. Just 4 front runners now, paced by a motorcycle camera team. Dokkum, 11:30 p.m. The front runners get their cards stamped at the checking station. Then it's right back the way they came. No big problem now.
Crazy.
But in the old days, when the course ran north in the dark, and Dokkum was the first city to reach, this might have been a painful collision. And this head-on at a rate of closure of 80 to 100 kilometers per hour.
Motorcycles don't fall through. It's a lot of weight to be riding right next to them.
The last leg of the event now, and the ice, as you can see, is beginning to thaw.
Yeah, it is.
Leeuwarden, the 11th city, where an eternity ago it all began. The crowds have been on hand for hours for the finish. And here's the Dutch Queen arriving. Royalties traditionally on hand for this event, and the Dutch Prime Minister.
So, when she shows up, that probably means that they were getting close, I would assume. Kind of like a little sign if the Queen showed up, then you knew.
The 4 frontrunners round the last bend in the twisting course. Victory's less than a minute away.
Start
But for
putting
whom?
everything you got.
What's the one on the left in back?
Yeah, he looks like he's about to make a move.
Now he's second. Now he's in front. The winner.
Put everything in. Wow.
He's Evert van Bentum, a dairy farmer, 26 years old.
Wow. That's so cool, though.
In circumstances like this in 1963, the winner, the Queen, and the press corps nearly sank through the ice.
I bet.
More racers reached the finish.
Yeah. I can only imagine, like,
It's been a
the
relatively
mental
easy
strain.
run, a pushover compared to some in the past. No serious casualties, no wind, no
Hold on. What was that?
pushover compared to some in the past. No serious casualties,
No serious casualties? Isn't every casualty serious? I'm saying, like, what do you mean? No, what does that mean? No serious I'm gonna have to ask the Dutchies in the Discord.
no
What does that
wind,
mean,
no blinding
serious?
snow, and temperatures almost friendly. But an ordeal nevertheless. An ordeal that for thousands of skaters is still going on. It's ducking obstacles, sidestepping holes, staying on your feet, balancing an entire day on steel blades 1.5 millimeters thick.
Yeah. Your ankle strength after that must be intense. And just be flexible. Oh, don't hit your head. Holy crap, he came in there pretty hot.
Ja,
Kind of where you just help drag everybody through, I guess, right?
But it's fun too. Fun for the fittest, as it has been since the 19th century, over 100 years back, before the tour got organized, before it became a race as well.
You can only imagine.
In this village, a welcome mat 250 meters long.
And the band. Like, that's awesome.
Winter in the Netherlands.
Don't step on her feet, poor lady. About to chop her toe off.
It was this Dutch province, by the way, that Peter Stuyvesant, the first governor of New York, came from. And an even more illustrious American, John Adams, the second president of the United States, actually made an 11 cities tour. Not on skates, though. It was a business trip. He was here seeking Dutch support for the American Revolutionary War.
Go figure.
Winter in the Netherlands. It's 5 p.m. and getting dark. And still they come, the thousands. the winter people. To wind down at the wind-up of their first tour in 22 years. All for a little silver cross, the Elfstedenkruisje, a sort of Dutch red badge of courage.
That's cool. That's cool.
It wasn't organized in the old days. It was done in pairs and trios, not en masse. Humble origins for what the winter people now call their monster marathon, the 11 Cities Race and Tour.
Maar ja, we hebben het record van Paping verbeterd. Dat was 10,59.
Darkness falls on Dokkum. It's 6 p.m. Skaters are still strung out along the course as far back as Bolsward, 75 kilometers away.
People are just skating for fun now at this point. People are still over half the distance away, so.
In the old days, it was innkeepers who did this job, signing name, place, and date to the letters the skaters carried. The thaw's in full swing now, meaning this 11 Cities tour came just in the nick of time.
I don't know if I'd be out
It'll
on
be
there
12
anymore.
p.m. before the last skater reaches Leeuwarden.
Poor little kid, somebody left behind.
And here's a scene from an old Dutch painting.
What does that mean? What painting? I'm interested now.
And here's a scene from an old Dutch painting.
Okay. I want to know what painting that is.
But where's today's big winner? And if there's a winner,
Probably
does that
sleep.
make the thousands still skating losers? Hardly. In an event which was a tour long before it became a race, you're a winner if you finish.
That's awesome. I mean, especially in something like that, right? But who won
Over
out of the racers?
13,000 skaters reached the finish of this tour. A record.
I mean, where did that guy go? 'Cause he was definitely the winner, I'm saying. Like, it's a badge of honor just to make it.
But now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you our record breaker, Evert van Bentum, the winner in 1985 of the 13th race of the 11 cities.
There he is. Let's go. That is so crazy. This is definitely really cool. It's amazing that I still don't think I could imagine skating 11 cities, 124 miles, 17 miles an hour. I'm just saying. Like, that just... I actually thought it was over. Tricked me. Shout out to Radio Netherlands TV. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this one. Definitely let me know what do they mean? What did he say about less serious casualties or something like that? Like, what does that mean? I definitely want to know about that painting. I'll be asking about that for sure. I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought about this one. Do you guys still do? Is this something you still do? Like, does this still go on? It'd be so cool to even go and just see it. Yeah. Request down in the Google form. Make sure you guys hit up the Creative Consortium. Check out one of the other videos floating around, and I'll catch you on the next one.